On the night of June 9th, 1912, the small town of Villisca, Iowa, went to sleep in peace. It was a quiet summer evening. The streets were still, windows were dark, and nothing seemed out of place. But sometime after midnight, someone entered the home of the Moore family. By morning, 8 people would be dead, and more than a century later, no one has ever been convicted. The Moore family was well known in Villisca. Josiah Moore, his wife, Sarah, and their 4 children lived in a modest white farmhouse. That night, 2 young sisters, Lena and Ina Stillinger, were staying over as guests. It was meant to be an ordinary sleepover, a simple evening in a small, trusting town. Inside that house, 8 people slept beneath one roof. None of them would see the sunrise. Sometime between midnight and dawn, the killer moved silently through the home. There were no reports of screams, no neighbors awakened, no signs of forced entry, and no clear evidence of a struggle. The house itself remained strangely undisturbed. Beds were intact, belongings untouched. Nothing appeared chaotic, yet something deliberate had taken place. Investigators later discovered details that made the scene even more unsettling. The mirrors inside the home had been covered. Curtains were drawn tightly shut. Even parts of the interior appeared intentionally concealed. A lamp had been left burning. Food had been handled in the kitchen, and the axe used in the attack belonged to the household. The killer appeared to have remained inside the home for some time after the violence had ended. The detail would haunt the town for generations because this was not a crime of sudden rage. It felt controlled, intentional, quiet. As dawn broke, the stillness of the house began to draw concern. When neighbors entered, the horror inside would shake Villisca forever. Word spread quickly. By midday, the entire town knew. 8 lives gone in a single night. Fear settled over Villisca like a shadow. Doors were locked earlier, windows checked twice, porch lights left burning until sunrise. Because if something like this could happen here, in a town where everyone knew each other, then nowhere felt truly safe. Investigations began immediately. Multiple suspects were questioned. One traveling preacher, George Kelly, was arrested and even confessed, but his confession was inconsistent. He later recanted, and he was ultimately acquitted. Other theories emerged. Some believed the crime was an act of revenge. Others suspected a possible serial killer moving between small towns along the railroad. But no theory has ever been proven beyond doubt. No conviction ever stood, and no definitive answer was ever found. More than a century has passed. The Villisca Axe Murder House still stands. Visitors walk its halls. Researchers revisit the evidence, and historians continue to examine the unanswered questions. But the mystery remains. Who entered that farmhouse after midnight? Why were the mirrors covered? How did the killer move through the house without waking the town? And how did they disappear without leaving behind a single, undeniable clue? The night the axe killer walked into Villisca remains one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries. And after all this time, the silence is still louder than the answers.